I never thought I'd wake up in my cousin's body, staring at my own face in the mirror. Her smug blue eyes blinking back at me like a bad dream I couldn't shake. But there I was, Grace Harlan no more, trapped in the skin of Victoria, Tori Langford, the golden child who'd stolen everything from me, including the family empire I'd built from scratch. And the first words out of this stolen mouth: "Time to burn it all down. You bitch." It started with a deal gone wrong. Or so they said. 3 years ago, in the humid haze of a Manhattan summer, I signed the papers that should have sealed my legacy, Harlan and Langford Imports. The company Dad left me after his heart gave out mid-negation with a cartel contact in Miami. I was 28, fresh off an MBA from Wharton, and I'd clawed my way through the boardroom wolves, mostly my own blood, to keep the ports humming and the cash flowing. Coffee from Colombia, textiles from Vietnam, a side hustle in rare earth minerals that had Wall Street whispering. But my cousins? Ethan, the slick lawyer with his Ivy League smirk, and Tori, the ice queen marketer who'd charm a snake out of its skin, they saw me as the weak link. The orphan girl playing at being boss. Business isn't for losers. Gracie, Ethan had sneered that afternoon in the conference room, his loafers propped on the glass table like he owned the view of the Hudson. We were hashing out the expansion deal, a $50 million infusion from a shadowy venture firm tied to offshore accounts. I'd spotted the red flags, shell companies, NDAs thicker than a Tolstoy novel, but the board was starving for growth. Tori leaned in, her red lips curling like she was tasting victory already. You always were the dreamer. Let us handle the real moves. I should have walked. Instead, I initialed the addendum, the one that funneled the funds through a subsidiary I'd never heard of. By morning, the feds were at the door. Money laundering. Ties to organized crime. My signature on every damning page. They called it Operation Black Anchor, a sting that unraveled half the East Coast import scene. I took the fall, 5 years in federal lockup at Danbury. Minimum security, but maximum isolation. No visitors after the first month, when Ethan testified that I'd gone rogue, forging docs in a desperate bid to save the sinking ship. Tori? She played the grieving cousin, tear-streaked on CNN, vowing to rebuild. But here's the hook they didn't see coming. I didn't forge shit. It was them. All of it. A setup, so clean it smelled like Chanel No. 5 and desperation. Dad's old ledger, hidden in the safe behind his Hemingway collection, had the proof, cross-referenced entries showing Ethan siphoning funds for his gambling debts in Atlantic City, Tori laundering through her art gallery fronts in Soho. I'd covered for them once, years back, when a minor audit flagged irregularities. Family, right? Blood thicker than the ink on those contracts. But they repaid me by burying me alive. Prison was a slow bleed. Days blurred into gray routines, chow hall whispers about snitches getting shivs. Nights staring at the bunk above me, replaying Ethan's testimony like a looped surveillance tape. Grace always had that ruthless streak, he'd said, perjuring himself with a straight face. The lawyers bled my appeals dry, and the judge, a Langford donor, sealed it with a gavel crack that echoed like a coffin nail. I was done. A loser, just like they said. Then came Dr. Elias Crow. He slunk into the visitor's room 6 months in, looking like a Bond villain who'd traded the tux for a lab coat, silver hair slicked back, eyes like polished obsidian. MS. Harlan, he said, voice low as the hum of the AC vents. I've been following your case. Fascinating. A mind like yours, wasted on regret. Turned out he was some black-budget neuroscientist, peddling experimental neural mapping tech to the highest bidder. DARPA whispers, Silicon Valley myths, body swaps via quantum entanglement, souls digitized and rebooted in donor shells. Science fiction, until he pitched it as my ticket out. One injection, he murmured, sliding a vial across the Formica table. You wake up. Elsewhere. A second chance. But it requires a vessel. Someone close. Genetically compatible.
Tori.
My mind latched on like a pit bull. She was due for her annual wellness check at that private clinic in the Hamptons, Crow's side gig. Moonlighting for the elite. A little sleight of hand with the charts. A swapped-for bag during her Botox touch-up. And boom, consciousness transfer. No muss. No fuss. Just two women waking up wrong. I greenlit it that night, scribbling consent on a napkin while the guard pretended not to see. Crow vanished like smoke. But the dream started, flashes of Tori's life bleeding into mine, power lunches at Le Bernardine, Ethan's late-night calls begging for bailouts, the thrill of forging my signature on that fatal contract. The swap hit on a Tuesday, mid-transfer during her detox infusion. I blacked out to the sting of the needle, came to in silk sheets that smelled like her Chanel. Her, hands flexing against Egyptian cotton. Mirror confirmed it, Tori's heart-shaped face. My fury burning behind those Arctic eyes. The first thing I did? Called Ethan. Hey, bro. I purred into her phone, voice a perfect mimic of her Valley Girl lilt. We need to talk. That Harlan mess? It's about to unravel. He bought a hook, line, and sinker, invited me to the penthouse for strategy session. That's when the real game began. Slipping into Tori's life was like stealing a Ferrari with the keys in the ignition, exhilarating. But one wrong turn, and you'd wrap around a guardrail. Her closet was a warren of Louboutins and power suits, each hanger a reminder of the throne she'd usurped. I rifled through her desk drawers first, heart pounding like a bass drop at a Jay-Z show, unearthing the burner phone tucked behind a stack of Forbes magazines. Text from Ethan. Clean up on aisle Grace. Feds bought the story. Your gallery takes the clean funds 50-50 split. Bingo. Proof in pixels. But revenge isn't a sprint, it's a marathon through razor wire. I had to play the part. Morning started with green juice and Peloton spins in her Tribeca loft. Afternoons schmoozing clients at rooftop bars where the martinis cost more than my old rent. Ethan noticed nothing off, too busy dodging bookies and betting his latest in turn. Tori, babe, you're on fire lately, he'd say, clinking glasses at our reunion dinner, oblivious to the venom in my smile. Ethan out, twirling pasta like it was his entrails, dropping breadcrumbs, casual mentions of loose ends from the Harlan deal, probing for cracks. The secret gnawed at me.
Though.
Why me? Dad's will had named me sole heir. But Tori and Ethan had contested it quietly, citing mental instability after Mom's overdose, another lie they'd spun, blaming my erratic behavior for her pills. Truth? She'd caught wind of their skimming. Confronted Ethan at a family Easter brunch. He slipped the fentanyl into her champagne flute, called it a tragic accident. I found her, blue-lipped on the sunroom floor, and covered it up. Told the cops it was suicide. Buried the autopsy report Dad paid to vanish. For family. For peace. They repaid me by framing me for their empire of dirt. Crow's tech had side effects, echoes. He called them Flashes of Tori's memories intruding like static on a bad line, her laughing as the indictments dropped. Toasting with Ethan over my mugshot on the evening news. To the loser, she'd said, clinking her flute. Rage boiled in this borrowed body, hot as Texas asphalt. I needed more than proof. I needed them to feel the cage closing. First move, the controversial one. I hacked her email. Password was Langford Legacy 69, real subtle from a VPN in a Brooklyn coffee shop. Posing as a barista to blend. Forwarded key threads to a ghost account. Then staged a panic attack at the next board meeting. Collapsed dramatically amid the mahogany and leather. Gasping about guilt over Grace's fall. The directors buzzed. Whispers of liability.
PR nightmares.
Ethan swooped in. All concern. But I saw the flicker. Fear. We need to audit the old files, I suggested weakly. Once recovered. They agreed, thinking it was Tori's idea to tie up loose ends. Nights were the worst. Lying in her king bed, staring at the exposed brick ceiling. I traced the scars on her wrists, faint lines from a wild phase in college. The one she hid behind her Type A facade. Did she feel this trapped? Or was it just another mask? The swap wasn't permanent. Crow warned it'd fade in months. Neural pathways rebelling like a bad transplant. I had to move fast. Planted seeds with a journalist contact from my pre-prison days. Anonymous tips about irregularities in Harlan and Langford's books. Nothing direct, just enough to make the SEC perk up. Ethan cornered me one evening in the garage, his beamer idling like a predator. What's with the audits?
Tor?
You're acting weird. I leaned against the pillar, crossing her legs in those Jimmy Choos, channeling every rom-com villainess. Just tying off threads.
Ethan.
Grace's ghost is haunting us. Don't you think? His jaw tightened, Adam's apple bobbing like a buoy in a storm. That bitch got what she deserved.
Drop it.
I smiled, slow and sharp. Or what? You poison me too. He laughed it off, nerves jangling like loose change, but I saw the crack. The next day, I discovered the ledger. Tucked it into Tori's Birkin during a spa day. Then accidentally left it on the conference table. Pages yellowed. Entries in Dad's spidery script. Diversions to Ethan's Cayman accounts. Tori's gallery shell as the wash. The board erupted, calls for lawyers. FBI hotlines dialing. Ethan blamed a rogue employee, but Tori's, my feigned horror, sold it. How could this happen under our watch? Behind closed doors. They schemed. I bugged the penthouse with a nanny cam from Amazon, tiny thing, disguised as a smoke detector. Late night footage, Ethan pacing, scotch in hand. Tori, wait. No. That's me now, but in memory. Her voice hissing. We frame the board. Plant the docs on that intern bitch. My stomach twisted. These weren't cousins. They were vipers in khakis. I forwarded the clip to my ghost email, heart racing as the upload bar crept. The tension built like a nori stir off the Cape. Protests outside the office, activists chanting about corporate greed, tying it to the wrongful conviction angle I'd leaked. Media frenzy, Fox calling it a family feud gone fatal, MSNBC digging into the overdose cover-up. Ethan cracked first, showing up at the loft with wild eyes and a duffel of cash.
Tor.
We run. Tonight. Vancouver Pipelines got jobs. I poured us wine, hers, laced with just enough Ambien to loosen tongues. Not kill. Controversial? Hell yes. But survival's gray in the shadows. He spilled it all, slurring confessions into the recorder hidden in her smart speaker. Mom's murder. The frame job. The $50 mill they'd bled dry. Grace took the hit like a champ, he chuckled. Bitter. Should have seen her face in court broken. I waited till he passed out, then dragged him to the balcony. Not to push, too messy. Too final. Just left him there, rain soaking his suit, phone buzzing with SEC subpoenas. Let the wolves circle. By dawn, the feds were at his door. Tori's empire, my borrowed throne, teetered. But I wasn't done. The real play was the contract. Dad's original will, notarized in a Jersey lockbox I'd forgotten about. It named me top dog, with clauses voiding any diversions. I'd stashed a copy in prison, smuggled out via Crow's network.
Now,
as Tori, I'd wield it like Excalibur. The boardroom showdown was pure theater. The kind Scorsese would kill for spotlights on the tension. No cuts for commercial. I'd called the emergency session myself. Tori's flawless script in hand. Transparency initiative. Suits shuffled in. Ties askew. Coffee breath mingling with the scent of fierce sweat. Ethan was absent, detained. The headlines blared. Langford exec in custody for fraud. Perfect timing. I stood at the head, her petite frame commanding in a black sheath that hugged like armor. Gentlemen, ladies, I began, voice steady as the subway rumbled below. The Harlan scandal wasn't a fluke. It was us. Gasps rippled. Old man Hargrove choking on his Danish. The new CFO's pen skittering across notepads. I laid it out, the ledger scans projected on the smart wall. Ethan's video confession playing in grainy glory. My brother, our partner, cross lines.
And I.
I looked away. Controversial pivot. I implicated myself. Tori's remorse, tears glistening under the fluorescence. I enabled it. For the family. But Grace Harlan? She was innocent. We framed her. The room detonated, accusations flying like confetti at a funeral. Resign. Lawsuits. I let it wash over. Then dropped the bomb, the contract. Unrolled it like a scroll from some biblical heist. My name, Grace Harlan, in bold across the top. Dad's true will. I hold the majority shares. Always did. This company's mine to salvage. Or sell.
Chaos.
Hargrove lunged for the dock. But security, my call, posing as Tories, hauled him back. Whispers turned to shouts, betrayal layered on betrayal. The American dream curdled into a nightmare of nepotism and lies. I excused myself amid the melee, slipping into the executive washroom to puke up the green juice. This body rebelled, migraines spiking like feedback from a Marshall amp, Tori's echoes screaming in my skull. This isn't you. Give it back.
But no.
I'd earned this skin. Outside, paparazzi swarmed like locusts, flashes popping against the revolving doors. I hailed a cab, actual yellow, not her chauffeured Escalade, and directed it to Danbury. Time to end the charade. But first,
the twist.
Crow called en route, his voice crackling through a burner app. The swap's destabilizing.
Grace.
Neural drift. You feel it, the memories bleeding?
Yeah.
Tori's regrets seeping in, her own abortions hidden from Ethan. The coke-fueled nights blurring boardroom winds with bathroom stalls. There's a reversal protocol, he said. But it requires consent. Hers.
Hers.
The real Tori. Comatose in a clinic bed since the swap. Brainwaves flatlined on monitors. I'd checked. Hacked the patient portal. Saw the charts. Crow had lied. It wasn't a clean transfer. Her essence lingered in limbo, a ghost in the machine. To switch back, I'd have to kill her. Or let her fade. Moral quagmire. Straight out of a Nolan flick. Do I reclaim my body? Rotting in Gen Pop after my suicide attempt, staged escape gone wrong. Or stay as Tori, Queen of the Ashes? Danbury loomed like a concrete scar on the Connecticut green. I flashed fake creds, Crow's forgeries, and bluffed past the guards to the infirmary. There I was, Grace Harlan. Skeletal under the fluorescence. IVs snaking like accusations. Tubes down the throat. Bruises from the fall. The sight hit like a gut punch, me. Reduced to this husk. Nurses bustled. Oblivious. I leaned close, whispering into the shell of my ear. Fight. You hear? It's almost over. But it wasn't. Alarms blared, Ethan. From his holding cell. Had lawyered up fast. A mole on the board. Bought off with gallery kickbacks.
Tipped him.
Feds en route. Not for him for the swap.
Crow's tech?
Black market DARPA. Traceable. I bolted. Sirens wailing in my wake. Weaving through visitor lots in Tori's heels. Back in the city. The climax brewed. A press conference I'd scheduled as Tori. Announcing the company's dissolution. Assets liquidated. Proceeds to a victim's fund for me. Mostly. The auditorium at the Langford Tower buzzed, reporters shoulder to shoulder. Cameras like Cyclops' eyes. I ascended the podium, contract in hand, lights hot as interrogation lamps. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, channeling every TED Talk diva. Harlan and Langford dies today. But justice? It rises. Slides cued. Evidence montages. Mom's autopsy redux.
Etan slured mea culpa.
The room gasped as I revealed the will. Grace Harlan was the rightful heir. Framed by kin.
And now?
She walks free. Murmurs swelled to thunder. A hand shot up, CNN's sharpest. MS. Langford. Rumors say you're not yourself. Impersonation charges pending. Sweat beaded under the collar. The twist hit then. Live on feed. My phone vibrated. Crow's text. Reversal initiated. Consent logged. Hers.
Via proxy. What?
Tori's ghost. Clinging in the ether. Choosing fade out over limbo. The drift accelerated. Vision blurring. Tori's laugh echoing in my throat. I gripped the lectern. Words slurring mid-sentence. The truth
is.
Body seized. Like a stroke in slow-mo. Reporters surged as I crumpled. The contract fluttering like a white flag. Blackout. Woke in a hospital bed, my bed. Grace's frame. Tubes reversed. Crow at the foot.
Smirking.
She let go. Said you earned it. The feds? Dropped charges. Evidence airtight. Ethan flipping on Tori's corpse for leniency. The company? Sold for peanuts. My cut a cool $20 mill. Justice? Debatable. I walk free. But Mom's ghost lingers. And the mirror shows scars that aren't mine. Ethan rots in Supermax. Pleading insanity.
Me?
I sip coffee in a Jersey diner. Plotting the next import. Second chances. Business isn't for losers. Cousins. It's for survivors. Epilogue's a bitch. Isn't it? 3 months post-swap. And the world's still spinning its yarn about the Langford implosion. Podcasts dissecting the betrayal. TikToks recreating my podium collapse in bad filters. I'm back in the old brownstone in Park Slope, the one Dad bought after the '08 crash. Creaky floors and all. No more lofts or Louboutins, just Uggs and a laptop humming with freelance consulting gigs. The $20 mills tucked in index funds, boring.
Safe.
The kind of nest egg that whispers you're okay on sleepless nights. But okay's a lie. The echoes linger. Tori's voice in my head, faint now, like radio static fading over the Atlantic. You stole my life.
Grace. But damn. You wore it well.
Nightmares blend our sins. Me signing the cartel addendum in her handwriting. Her popping mom's pills in my bathroom mirror. Therapy's a joke. The shrink calls it integration trauma, prescribes SSRIs that taste like chalk. Crows vanished, poof, into some beltway black hole, but his vial's shadow haunts. Was it mercy killing her essence? Or just assisted suicide for a soul who'd long sold hers? Ethan's trial was the real circus. Federal courthouse in Foley Square. Summer heat turning the marble halls to a sauna. I testified. Voice steady as I laid out the frame, the forged cigs, the ledger plants, Mom's champagne flute laced with enough horse strength to drop a Derby winner. His defense? Coerced by Tori's ambition. Jury didn't buy it. Delivered guilty on all counts. 25 to life. He stared daggers from the dock. That ivy smirk cracked like old porcelain. You always were the snake. Gracie, he hissed as they cuffed him. I leaned in.
Close as confession. Nah.
Just the survivor. The controversial calls? They dog me. That ambient pour, borderline assault. But no charges stuck. Self-defense in the court of public opinion. The board purge? I fired half. Blacklisted the rest. Citing fiduciary malfeasance. Wall Street called it ruthless. The Times op-ed dubbed me vindictive heiress. Protests flared. Feminists cheering the takedown of patriarchal fraud. Conservatives decrying woke vigilantism. Forums lit up. Was I hero or homewrecker? Justice porn or petty grudge? The twist's the kicker. The one that flips the script and leaves you arguing in bars. Turns out, Dad knew. His ledger? Not just evidence, a trap. Entries coded with my initials. Breadcrumbs for me to find post-mortem. He'd confronted them years back. Postmom. Threatened disinheritance. They panicked. Accelerated the frame to bury me before I dug too deep. But the real reversal? The will's codicil. Unsealed in probate. To Grace. My anchor. Forgive them. Or finish it. Your call. He banked on my mercy morphing to fire. Prophet or puppeteer? Debatable.
Now?
I import ethical beans from co-ops in Guatemala. Small batch. No shadows. Dates are disasters. Guys bolt when I dodge questions about that scandal. But freedom's the rush. Morning runs along the Gowanus. Coffee black as my humor. Tori's gallery? I torched the lease. Turned it into a community space for wrongfully convicted artists. Catharsis. Or just rubbing salt. Ending happy?
Nah.
Too pat for this grit.
Beakik.
Maybe tragicomic. Like a Coen Brothers flick where the Coens laugh last. I won the war. But the battle's scarred. Ethan's appeals drag. A lifetime subscription to regret. And me? I glance in mirrors expecting blue eyes. But see brown mine. Always were. Business isn't for losers. Cousins. It's for those who rewrite the contract. One last hook. Last week. A package arrived, no return. Just a USB drive. Crows? Footage of another swap. Some Politico in D.C. Mid-negotiation. My number scrawled on the envelope. Temptation's a whisper. Do I play God again? Or burn it? Your move. Reader. What's a girl to do?